Good afternoon. This week, you guys are looking at treatment report or beginning treatment report. Those of you who haven't already gotten started on this, and I have gotten some questions about it, and so I want to make sure that those are addressed. But treatment report, let's go down to this week on the calendar, February 29th. So we're doing the treatment report, which is part of design and development. So the first thing I want to point out is the treatment report is one document, but it's very large. And so it's going to be due in two different pieces. And a lot of times the instructional designer and developer are going to have to, work hand in hand on this one, as well as with help from the entire team. But the treatment report is one document, but it's due over the course of 2 weeks because it is very large, and for another reason. So let's first scroll down to look at its due dates. The treatment report, the first part of it, the description and rationale, is due by March 28th. And then the following week, the design templates are due. And this includes the flowcharts, thumbnails, storyboards, and style sheets. And so, like I said, together it's one document. You're just going to add on to it the second week and include the rest of the items. Okay, and one reason that it's kind of nice to turn in your description and rationale early is because I can say, I guess I shouldn't have to say earlier than this, but earlier than you develop all of these things, because if there's something wrong with your description or your rationale, and I can tell you, or the client can tell you, that will save you time in actually developing all of these other pieces of the report. Okay, and so we'll talk about that in just a minute. But the description is a description of what your site is going to look like, and the rationale is why it's going to look like that. So for example, if I say, I chose the colors pink and blue because my daughter's favorite color is pink and my son's eyes are blue, that's a problem. Okay, there are reasons that you choose the color scheme that you do. Now, it's because it's the color that our client gave us, or because, it matches such and such. There are reasons. There's reasons that you choose the font that you choose. Okay, not just because it looks cool. It's readable on the web. It's a sans serif because of this. There's lots of the reasons that you make the choices that you do for the layout, for where you put your buttons. We're not just guessing, and because I think it's awesome. There's reasons and rationales for all of the descriptions. The descriptions of all of the pieces of how your website looks, or your web modules look, and how they operate. Okay, and so if you share those with us and the client, and the client's like, yes, these colors are good, and then you go in and develop your thumbnails and storyboards and style sheets. Okay, so let's take a look at the module. So this is the module about the treatment report. Okay, and so the description of the site, here's the things that have to be included under that. How navigation is handled. Do you have buttons on the left and right to move forward? How do the learners move forward through your module? The order of progression of the topics, how that works. Is there help available? On some modules or things, there's a little icon that says help, and you click there. So you would tell where that's located, or if that was used, or the system feedback. When the user does something, if they click an answer, does something, another screen come up and tell them, is it right or wrong? Basic structure of the instruction to the learner. So the content overview and objectives, those types of things, where they will be. So will there be a screen that lists the objectives out in the beginning? Will there be an objective listed before each section of the module? Accessibility guidelines are referenced, and so you can talk about what you had to do for accessibility. Okay, and then the interface, this is all those style decisions that you made. Okay, so this is how it functions in this first part, the description of the site and how it functions, and then this is the interface, and we're talking about how it's laid out. And here's kind of an example. Here's my navigation menu. Here's where the title will be. Here's the next button, the last updated line. This is how it's going to look. I can see that it's going to have a darker blue for the headings, and then here's the text, and this is how it's laid out. And right now you can just use like lorem ipsum text. It doesn't have to be all of the exact text for your that content that's going to be included, because you're just saying this is how it's going to look. So this could just say text, 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 text. Okay. And then here's a little description of how you've laid this out. This is the introduction page. And as you can see, the introduction page looks a little bit different than this is the direction for pretest page. And so it has just the same blue, but just across the top of the screen, and then text below. So if you have different kinds of screens, a title screen, you know, they have a pretest screen, the content screen, they look different. We're going to need to see what each one is, an example of what each one is going to look like. Okay, and you don't have to have every page that looks the same. All you have to have an example of each different kind of page where the layout or format may look a little bit different. Then the sitemap. This is a big deal. So this takes you through all of the like up here, you aren't giving us all of the pages yet. You don't have all of the content ready yet, but this is just how it looks, how it's going to be looking. But this is everything that's going to be included in your module to the best of your ability. So they open it up and there's the splash page. Then they have an introduction. Here's directions for proceeding through the module and the pretest. And then here's each of the modules that they go through and the content that's going to be under each of those modules. Okay, the style sheet. If you're using like an external CSS style sheet, or that's fine. But here is, let's go ahead and download this and take a look. An example of the style sheet. And this is where you tell us everything that's going to be used. And this is important, because your developer may need some help, and someone else may be called in to develop some of these. There may be a point where you have 5 modules and you divide them up and say, okay, everybody work on this. They all have to look exactly alike. 2 teams are working on a project that in the end will be put together to make one large unit. This will be especially important for them. What font are you using? Are you doing single space? Are you doing double space? All of these information about how this is going to look should be spelled out on here. Okay, and you have several of these pages you can do, because the name of this is the introduction. This is everything on there. So it could be that you use bold on the introduction, or for titles. Okay, this is, I'm going to use for all my titles, this is what they're going to look like. For all of the, you know, body, all the font or all the look in the body, this is what it's going to look like. Okay. So that's the style sheet. And then the storyboards, this is kind of where you lay out what it's going to look like. And these can be, you can do them by hand and scan them in. Some people like to sketch it out. And then some people prefer to do them like in PowerPoint. That's fine too. Here's a thumbnail template. Let's look at it. Okay, and you can say these are your rough draft documents. All right, and so sometimes there are more than one that you play with, your home page or your splash page. Well, here's how it might look if we have nav across the top. Here's how it might look if we have nav down the left. Here's how it might look if we choose to put the logo here. Here's how it might look if we put the logo here. And then here's the one we decided to go with. And maybe this is why. You know, you decided to go with that, or any of the other information there. This is what you would use. Okay, so and then the second level are just the regular pages of the module where the actual content is, the same thing. So kind of show us in the thumbnails different elements of the design, what the whole page looks like. And like I said, these can be sketches, it can be done in PowerPoint. Either way is fine, but this is what the interface looks like. You kind of draw it out and make your notes. Always provide that rationale of why you made the decisions. And it could be that you're showing the client 2 different ways. Here's how we can lay it out with nav here. Here's how we can lay it out if you like headings across the top, or if you like headings at the bottom. Some people actually do that. So there's some different things that you can look at and play with to give some choices to your team if you're responsible for this part, Or after your team has decided, I like these two, this is how you would present it to the client. And then the last thing is that storyboard template. And it's kind of the name of the page, what it is, which page number it would be, the page title, the file name, and then any notes here. And so you're actually walking through the content, as many of those as you can get. But like I said, it can be just lorem ipsum text at this point, but you would want to include every title for every page so that you have a storyboard to match back here all of these. So you're seeing the order that everything goes in on the storyboards. And like I said, the content area can be placeholder text right now, but you should have a storyboard that lays out the look and feel of the entire document. So it is your rough draft that gets approved and passed around before the developer actually starts using the tool. So rough draft stuff can be done, like I said, with paper, with sketches. It can be done in something easy like PowerPoint or Word. It can be done literally using your tool if you want to do some rough things using like Storyline or HTML, like whatever you guys are using to build your tool. Some of you are using very different tools. Okay, and then all of that goes together into one document. Example, and I always pick on myself and the team that I worked on when I did this, but here's the treatment report, and this is pasted on our site as one of the examples. You can also look at any of the other examples that have been provided. So the site description and rationale. Here's why some of the things were chosen, and the way things are going to run, and then the interface. And these were rough drafts of, how it would look. They would have a character here. Here would be a heading. Here's the text. We would have, a character introducing it. See, it's a couple of choices. One looks like this. The other is where it has the green across the top. These are 4 different choices where the character could, be alternated through different characters, different body language, just showing examples of how this might look or feel. What the different icons would look like. We had a lot of audio. The navigation, so it's showing where the nav buttons will be located, what they do. Also pull out the side navigation. What a practice quiz might look like. What it might look like if they get the answer correct or incorrect. The feedback. And at the end of their quiz, what they would see. That sitemap says you can click to enlarge there, so you can see all of the way it's going to look. That style sheet, all of the headings, this is what they'll look like. The subheadings here, body text here, navigation, this is what it, the colors that will be used. Also, remember from 7070 and 7080, you have to show me the RGB colors, the red, green, blue colors. The reason is because in different things, we know blues or greens or yellows or purples all may look slightly different. But sometimes you ever looked at something on your screen and looked at it on a different screen and the colors looked very different. That's why we have to include the RGB colors, because those are universal. Okay, and then this is from the initial content we received from the client. You can click through and kind of see some of the practice slides where it has the Spanish and English, and they can click to hear the audio for different modules, because there was more than one module. And then this is the look and feel of the prototype. This isn't what the final product looked like, but it kind of gave a look and feel of an exam room where someone comes in, the doctor, or there's a patient there. So these are the examples there. And then finally, the template slides that we worked with from our initial Captivate version of the product.